And hello everyone, how is your mood? I hope it's great because today people will tell us about their unsuccessful purchases. I won't distract you from watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy. Story 1 from user deleted. I went to Mexico a few years back with my family, and it was our first time there. We only left the hotel once because it was so damn hot. On that day, after visiting an ancient temple, we decided to go to a cenote to swim and cool off. We arrived at the bus station, and this kinda sketchy taxi driver approached us and asked where we wanted to go. My father mentioned a very popular cenote, but the taxi driver recommended a quieter place and said he'd do it for half price, even though it was already dirt cheap. For some reason, my father agreed, which I thought was mad. So me and my family got in his taxi and drove off. We were riding down the freeway when he starts indicating left. I see no road where he's indicating. We turn off onto a dirt track and into the jungle. For about 10 minutes, we're getting deeper and deeper into the jungle until we reach a house. My father is told to get out and pay at this small shack and the rest if us aren't allowed out of the car. 5 minutes pass, and by this time, we were freaking out in the car. I didn't really feel like getting kidnapped or anything. But my father returns, and we continue into the jungle. Soon we reach a clearing with a few people smoking around a table and a couple with swimsuits on. Now I'm a bit more relaxed because there are other customers there. After getting changed, we have a short walk to this beautiful, crystal clear cenote with overhangs and plants hanging down. It was amazing. We got out and thought money well spent, but we were led on a tour around 4 other cenotes where we swam under bats hanging in caves and learnt about the history of the cenotes. To top it off, I got to jump off a 10ft drop into a pool where I could see the bottom about 20ft below the surface. Best experience we had in Mexico, and I'd love to go back, but I don't think I've ever been so frightened as I was going down that deserted dirt road. Edit. Lots of people think they have been here or want to find it. So I wrote a description in a comment further down and will paste it here. I'd love to find out what it was called. I'll try to describe it as best I can to give you a better chance. It might not all be correct because it was a few years ago. A long, straightish dirt track led to a house on the right side and then continued to the main area. It was a sort of covered patio with lockers and changing room toilets sort of behind it. The first cenote I went in was down some wooden steps that I think went straight into the water. It was a narrow and long cenote that was quite deep. It went through a cave with stalactites, stalagmites hanging from the ceiling. The second cenote was a horseshoe shape where you could jump in or walk down a ramp on the side, might have been steps. You could swim into a cave where there were a few bats in the roof. I think there was another one after that, but I can't remember. Then the last one was a long, thin lake, river, that went in a curve to the left. To get to this one, we had to walk along a dirt road for about 5 or 10 minutes. At the end of it was a larger pool area, and there were some steps leading up to a jump off the edge to the left that was about 10ft, I think. Story 2 from user MacDaddyMurph. December 2012. Being out of Chicago, I bought a concert ticket through Craigslist out of Los Angeles for a one-night jazz concert hosted by Tenacious D. After I paid through PayPal, the guy says he'd contact the venue to confirm the transfer. I bought my plane ticket and hotel room on good faith that this would work. I fly down the night before, get to Sunset BLVD, and get my room. The day of, I wait from 12 p.m. to 4 outside the venue by myself. I see at some point people loading equipment in the venue. I walk in through the side door, sit down at a random table for a bit, and end up talking with the production manager for the duo for a bit. I was told by him that hanging out was okay, but I'd be kicked out at 6 before rehearsal. 6 p.m. rolls around, and I exit to get back in line. At this point, I'm now at the back of a 20-person line. An old lady proceeds to walk up to wait in line behind me. She is definitely not the age demographic for a Tenacious D concert. She proceeds to talk with me. What time does the venue open? I'm supposed to be inside already. I tell her 8 p.m. Being that we're at a jazz club, I think maybe she's here for the wrong show. I ask her who she's here to see tonight. She says, "My son and daughter are playing here tonight." I respond, "Who's your son and daughter?" "Oh, my daughter." Can't remember. "And my son, Jack." "Oh, let's get you inside." She holds my shoulder with one hand, cane in the other, and I bring her to the front door and knock real hard. The bouncer opens the door. I say, "I'm here with Jack's mom and need to get her inside." Second booth on the right. We walk in. I get halfway to her assigned, and an older gentleman meets me halfway and takes her the rest of the way to her seat. He comes back to me, thanks me, and talks with me for another 20 mins while rehearsal's going in. Turns out it's JB's stepdad, Rehearsal wraps up, and he asks me if I want to meet his stepson. Yeah, I do. To wrap up my story, I meet Jables, Rage Cage, Cones, electric guitarist, Spike, bass, and Brooks, drummer. They all signed my vinyl collection, OG, Pa D, Rod F, Jazz, and Brutal Legend vinyl sleeve. And I got pictures with all my heroes. I then end up sitting front row to the greatest jazz concert ever, sitting next to Billy Zane, the evil bald guy from the Titanic movie. TBH, I don't even know if my Craigslist ticket purchase was legit or real, but I still got to see the show, meet my heroes face to face, and have this epic story to tell. Edit. Here's a couple photos I could find right away. Story 3 from user deleted, 1992, Lexus SC400. I needed a winter beater, and this came up on Craigslist. Dirt cheap. I don't want to say how cheap, just in case the original owner sees this. I don't want to make him feel bad, because I think he underpriced it by a mile. Let's just say it was cheap enough to make people go, no F way, when I say what a paltry sum I paid. I bought it with a fair amount of trepidation though, as used cars can bring along many hidden headaches, and being a luxury car, it was sure to be more complex and way more expensive than a normal one if anything were to indeed go majorly wrong with it. What if this turns out to be some shitbox that whittles away my soul with breakdown after breakdown? Nevertheless, this was one of my dream cars back in the 90s. A car that, at the time anyway, made people go, whoa, when it rolled by. And I always wanted a taste of that life. I didn't care that it was nearly 3 decades past its best before date, and it wasn't baller anymore. To me, I just remembered wanting one really, really bad when I was young, and now, boom, here was my chance to own the very Lexus that all those rap dudes sang about. I rolled the dice. And of course, shit did go sideways to a certain extent. Nobody sells a car that has no problems after all. But with the help of my best friend, we got everything straightened out in DIY fashion, and I started dailying the world's most refined beater. That was a year ago, and I can say with confidence now that I will never, ever sell this car. I simply love it too much. Lexus cars are bulletproof, especially the 90s ones. This turned out to be the very opposite of a shitbox. This one happens to be mechanically identical, almost, to the MKIV Supra, which I didn't know at the time of purchase. Accordingly, it goes like stink, like, you don't get a speeding ticket because you're going straight to jail levels of speed. Also, being older, it's not overly computerized. I can work on it in my garage. Try that with a new Lexus. In my area, these were rare, even when they were current. New, they sold for the equivalent of $92,000, being Lexus's top model of its time. It is the progenitor to the Lexus LC500 that goes for a similar price today. In the 90s around my hometown, I think I only ever saw 2 or maybe 3. It's so rare nowadays that most people don't even know what it is. In the past year, I've only seen one other one in town. This thing oozes exclusivity and you can't have itness. Non-car people, they only see that it is long, low, shiny, and has an expensive-looking L on the hood. The neighbors were so jealous when I brought it home, you could almost see a green mist in the air. You look like money in this car, apparently. I can't say for sure, because I can't see myself driving it, but I will say that you certainly feel like all the money when you drive this thing. Haha. Girls absolutely don't know how old it is, and are all in on the brand recognition. I've gotten amazing amounts of stares, whoa, call-outs, and nice car from the females at work. When my mom first saw it, all the color drained from her face because she thought I had blown a fortune on it. She thought I had just rushed into the most reckless financial disaster of my life. You're not rich at all, and you went out and bought a Lexus? Relax, Mom. I got it for super cheap. I didn't throw away my life savings. Even 27 years later, it's luxurious AF. You really feel ultra pampered in this thing. There have been evenings when I have just sat in it parked for embarrassingly long stretches and soaked up being in the middle of all that opulence. Mom loves going for rides in it now because she feels like Queen Elizabeth. Haha. My wife loves it too and has asked to borrow it without having to give it back. Unlike the Supra, it has usable back seats and a spacious trunk, so you can actually use the thing for daily life. Classic car guys often express their love for my car, as do gas station pump guys, as do JDM fans. It's a great conversation starter and has made me a fair number of friends, all because of a car. Haha. And while this is subjective, I think my car is gorgeous. Not beautiful, But truly, go or just. You don't need to agree. I bought it for pleasing me, which it does. Story 4 from user E34M20. This was back in the days when all those third-party travel websites had just sprung up, but far enough along in their existence that the deals weren't so good anymore. Airline websites were starting to gain relevance, and I was starting to find that I could get as good a deal through Delta or Alaska as I could through Expedia. Never one to give up hunting the deal to end all deals, I eventually found something that seemed to be too good to be true through a site I'd never heard of. I think they were called Cheapo Air or something like that. Don't quite remember, so we'll just call them Cheapo for the sake of this post. I read some reviews where I could, and things seemed mixed. 50% of people claimed everything was hunky-dory, and the other 50% claimed that Cheapo was a load of bollocks, including horror stories of getting to the gate and finding their tickets invalid, etc. I decided, you only live once, and bought the tickets through Cheapo, because why not? But instantly started getting nervous about it. I called the airline a few times over the course of the next few months to verify the tickets were real, and everything I could do to confirm seemed to confirm. There was nothing to do but wait and see. At some point, a few weeks before my trip, the airline called me. This seemed strange to me, as the tickets were purchased through third party. But hey, according to the airline, the tickets I had purchased were so outrageously expensive that they were bumping both me and my wife to first class. I was very hesitant to believe this, but it turned out to be true. When I printed boarding passes, they were indeed first class. Nervous as ever about the reality, we went to the airport, but it was great. The tickets were real, and were indeed first class. So my wife and I sat in comparatively luxurious barca loungers, drinking wine and eating hot food with real silverware, while everybody else was back in steerage. One of the greatest cross-country flights I've ever had. Never did buy another ticket from Cheapo, though. Just somehow didn't seem worth the risk after that high point. Story 5 from user HK Love Machine. A. Electric bug zapper with a built-in rechargeable battery, around 20 bucks. The cheaper ones might not be strong enough. Got it for fun, but the whole thing feels super cheap, and the charging cable actually shorted and burned on my second purchase. But it turns out the zapper itself works really well. It kills the mosquitoes, doesn't get toxic particles in your lungs like the sprays, can be recharged with a smartphone charger, even on the car when traveling. Super simple electronics, so should easily last 5+ years, and is repairable. The satisfaction when zapping one of them never gets old. B. A large mosquito net for a full-size bed, around 15 bucks. Figured it could help a little even if it's cumbersome and likely to fall into pieces after a year or two. Turns out it works flawlessly and has been in perfect condition for 3 years now. Once you put your tiny hooks on the walls around the room, tie some cord to the end, and add a key ring to each end, you can remove the net in less than 10 seconds. Suddenly, you can go to sleep without having to kill every last mosquito. Just pop the net, get inside, sleep. A mosquito got inside? Fear not. They're locked in here with you. They can't run. They can't easily hide. Kill it. Go to sleep. The net saved me dozens of hours of sleep, possibly more than 100 and still counting. C. A potato peeler. Blade perpendicular to the handle. Not a gadget. Unlike most of the kitchen stuff you see online, it makes cooking vegetables or peeling fruits so much easier. Really turns a hassle into a minor housework. Everywhere I go, if there isn't one, I get one at the nearest store and leave it in the drawer. I'm like a potato peeler evangelist. D. A large pack of micro USB cables, or whatever is your smartphone tablet charging socket. From Anker, Aukey, Ugreen, insert reliable third-party brand. It might sound stupid to get some if you still have your original one, and a large drawer full of your old ones. But here's the thing. Very often the cable, male end, of the micro USB will bend over time, causing the connection to drop and prevent it from raising the charging rate, especially if you have micro USB devices. The standard was completely botched because of some pressures by a certain manufacturer that needed it rapidly for its upcoming line of super thin models, so it is incredibly more prone to failures, despite its official specification claiming the opposite, and will bend after 6 to 12 months of average use. That will cause the charging to stop, or to not climb up to its maximum charging speed. I've donated new cables to random friends, acquaintances more than 10 times already. Suddenly they were no longer charging on and off at 10% charging speed, but were reaching 90% to 100% of their original charging speed. You can check that with the app Ampere and/or an USB dongle. Mine is the Drock one, but maybe newer models Chonner brands replaced it. E. A Victorinox pocket Swiss knife, around 15 bucks. Not really sketchy, but definitely looks like a cute gadget. Victorinox Classic SD, a gift more than a tool. Turns out the original manufacturer of the Swiss knife knows how to make proper blades. That thing cuts through everything like butter and won't go blunt. And if you're quite demanding regarding the quality of your nail care, the tiny scissor will cut perfectly. The cut is sharp and straight, and the tip is super small, so can make very precise small cuts. I've used it for minor skin surgery, clearing up wounds, retrieving splinters, cactus spines, etc. It's fantastic. Thank you for watching this video. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and see you soon.